week we are talking about those busy building beavers. Oh my goodness, they build so much. Can you think of any other animals that build things? I can think of this animal likes to come down to the ground, find some acorns around the fall time, store them in their cheek, maybe hides them in the dirt, and then they like to scurry up into the trees. Do you know what animal I'm thinking of? It has a long bushy tail. A squirrel. A squirrel builds itself a nest up in a tree. I'm thinking of an animal that likes to hibernate in the winter. It's really little, and it gathers up nuts and berries so that it has lots of food in its home in the winter. Do you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of a mouse, a little field mouse. It also builds a little nest around a tree. Kindergarten, we are going to read a story later about another animal that likes to build its own home. So our question today is, how do beavers build their homes? Well, if we think about a squirrel uses little twigs and maybe leaves to build its nest, and a beaver is very much the same. It uses just big twigs, like big branches. And remember what it does to cut those branches? It doesn't use a saw to cut those branches. It doesn't use an axe to cut those branches. It uses its teeth. It uses its teeth to chew through those branches, kindergarten. And do you remember how it makes everything stick together? It uses mud. It can't use a drill, and it can't use some of our glue from our classroom. It has to use mud. Kindergarten, this week we are talking about how we can identify the main idea in a story. The main idea is what the story is all about. Do you remember that story we read called Building with Dad? What was that story all about? It was all about a kid that went to work with his dad, and they built a school. See, I didn't have to tell you every little thing that happened in that story. I just told you what the story was all about. Kindergarten, we have 2 last words to learn today. Kindergarten, do you remember yesterday when we talked about a stream? I said a stream is like a really small river. A stream is like a really small river. Can you find a picture of a river on this big board? I found one. Right here. This is a river. Right there, kindergarten. So a stream is very narrow or skinny, and it's like a pathway or like a hallway of water. It's just very skinny or narrow. And it's pretty shallow, which means it's not deep. There's not a lot of water in it. Well, a river is like a stream, except that it is really wide and it is really deep. Here's a river right here. Kindergarten, there is a river close to our state, and it is called the Ohio River. It's a really big river, kindergarten, and it goes down around the bottom of Ohio. Have you ever been over the Ohio River? It's huge. So it is really deep and it's really wide. I went to the Grand Canyon a couple times years ago. And at the Grand Canyon, down in the bottom, there's another big river, and it's called the Colorado River, and it runs through the bottom of the Grand Canyon. So kindergarten, a river is just like a really long pathway, a really long hallway of water, and it's really wide, and it's really deep. And rivers can connect to each other, rivers can lead to the ocean, and rivers can lead to lakes. Kindergarten, we have one more word today, and our last word is lake. I just said it, lake. Here is a picture of a lake, right here. Do any of you ever go to the lake? Maybe some of you have a lake house. Maybe some of you go to the beach at the lake and you hang out there. I like to go to the lake. I like to sit on the beach by the water and just relax, maybe read a book. In the summertime, Mr. Jake and I go with his family and we go to Lake Michigan. It's near Chicago. It is so much fun and it's huge. It's not like a river because it's not long and, like either like wide. It's not like a big hallway or path of water. It's like a big giant pool of water. But it's not like a pool like what you have in your backyard. It's huge. If you ever represent the Great Lakes, that would be Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Lake Superior. They are huge. There's 5 of them, and they are called the Great Lakes. Kindergarten, what lake do you like to go to? Kindergarten, we have a story to read today, and it is about another animal that likes to build its own home. Please go and find a cozy spot in your house. Make sure you're nice and cozy, and please make sure that you can hear me. And we are going to make a movie in our mind. Are you ready? Here we go. This story is called Robin's Nest. It was a cold, gray April day. Thomas stared at the puzzle he just put together. I'm bored, he thought. He looked out at the cloudy sky and the new damp leaves blowing in the wind. It looked too dreary to play outside. Then a flash of color in the sky caught his eye. Thomas ran to the window. He searched everywhere for the orange streak. There it was! A robin with dark orange feathers on his chest soared quickly through the sky and dove into the branches of a pine tree. Suddenly, it flew back into the yard and hopped around the corner toward the porch. It came back seconds later with something long in its beak. Is that string? Thomas wondered. Over and over, the robin picked up something. String, a stem of grass or twig, and it took it to some secret hiding spot in the pine tree. Every time it flew back out, the robin's beak was empty. Thomas watched until lunchtime. What could that robin be doing? Thomas wondered. Thomas was so excited to see what that robin was up to that he could barely eat his lunch. And he thought this day was going to be boring. Thomas raced outside to the pine tree and looked quickly for some clue of what the robin was up to. And there it was, just beyond Thomas's reach, a tiny round nest tucked snugly into the space where 2 branches grew together. Thomas looked around for the robin, but it hardly saw him. The robin was perched on top of a bush, watching him. Thomas sat down quietly and stayed very still. Soon the robin got busy again. Back and forth, the robin flew all day. Thomas sat, never taking his eyes off of the robin building its nest. Once, the robin returned with a stick. The stick was longer than the robin, and the busy bird kept dropping it. The stick was so big that the robin couldn't get it between the branches. The robin tried and tried, but the stick kept getting stuck. The robin finally dropped the stick. From time to time, the robin flew to a little muddy puddle by the sidewalk. Thomas thought the bird was taking a drink. All that flying must make a little bird very thirsty. But as Thomas watched closely, he saw that the robin was scooping up mud. It returned to its nest and poked clumps of mud around the twigs and string to glue them together. The mud made the nest stronger. Finally, the proud robin stood on the edge of the nest and sang a beautiful song, tweet, 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 tweet. Soon another bird answered and flew to the nest from a nearby oak tree. Thomas knew that nests provide shelter for birds and that they lay eggs and raise their babies there. That means that soon a whole family will be living in Thomas's pine tree. The 2 birds twittered sweet songs for a while, tweet, 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 tweet. They poked their beaks here and there, pushing twigs and grass in place. Then the first robin hopped out onto the branch and flew toward Thomas. Thomas stayed very still. What's happening? He wondered. The bird gently landed on the cap beside him. It tried to pull a string out of the cap, but none would come. Then, to Thomas's surprise, the robin took hold of the brim of the cap and flew off. Using all its strength, it made it up to the nest with the red stocking cap. Thomas laughed. The cap had kept him warm during the winter. Now it would keep the baby birds warm in the spring. All right, kindergarten, you should have this paper. Make sure that you put your first and last name at the top. Here is what you need to do. Here is your job today. It says, color the picture that shows what Robin's Nest is all about. That's the story we just read together. So, pardon me. Was this story all about a robin taking a drink? Was this story all about a robin building a nest? Or was this story all about a boy watching a robin eat a worm? Make sure that you color just one picture. Also, make sure that you use 3 or more colors and make sure that those colors are real colors. I've never seen a purple robin. Robins are usually gray or black with an orange belly. Okay, kindergarten? So if you're not sure what a robin looks like, that's what a robin looks like. So only color one of these pictures. Was this story all about a robin taking a drink? Was it all about a robin building a nest? Or was it all about a boy watching a robin eat a worm?